What's going on, all you freedom-loving patriots out there? Craig Gibson here with Sons of Liberty, and this is Coffee, History, and Service. So, finally, end our coffee of the weekend. Yes, we are doing this a day, almost 2 days late by the time I get this done, but things have been pretty crazy around here this week, the week of Christmas. But anyway, our coffee finally showed up, and we have our limited Christmas roast, Santa's Hearth. This is a graham cracker, vanilla, cinnamon, hazelnut flavored coffee. Smells really good in the bag. Smells even better when you're brewing it, and tastes great. So, like I said, this is a limited roast for the Christmas season only. Come on in and give it a try. We're going to be brewing it up at least until New Year's. We also have several other flavors to choose from, and all of our sample bags are back in stock. Alright, so there's a lot we could be talking about today, but I'm not going to talk about all that, because it's Christmas. It's the Christmas season, so, we're not going to talk about the horrible, deplorable bill that's been passed in the name of Corona relief. But what we are going to talk about is my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Oh, It's a Wonderful Life. Now, most people have seen this movie. Some may not, and some may not want to, because, let's face it, it was filmed in 1946. Not everybody enjoys some of the classic older movies these days. They want the special effects and the special cool graphics and everything else. This is still one of my favorite all-time Christmas movies with Jimmy Stewart. So, why are we talking about this one? Well, I really want you guys to think about the men and women who will not be home for Christmas. Our men and women who are deployed all over the world, whether in combat roles, security roles, humanitarian aid roles, or maybe they're just stationed somewhere else for a while. They're not going to be able to be home with their families. Or how about our EMTs and paramedics who have to work Christmas Day? Or our police officers, our firefighters, our doctors, our nurses, all these different professions that they don't get a day off. Their jobs go 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. So, I hope you will keep them in mind this Christmas. So Jimmy Stewart filmed It's a Wonderful Life after he had returned home from World War II. Now, Jimmy Stewart suffered from what they said back then was flak happy or shell shock, battle fatigue. These are all names for what we now know today as PTSD. We know a large number of our service vets, those who are still in active service, our first responders. A lot of them deal with some form of PTSD from the things they've seen, the friends they've lost, whatever the case may be. And all too often, we really don't think about that. We might think of the soldiers who are deployed, but we rarely, as a society, think about the police officers who are out there, the firefighters, the EMTs and paramedics, the hospital staff. Well, in any one of those professions, there's a chance that you are going to see things that nobody should ever have to see, should ever have to witness. And the holidays can be extremely hard on them. Whether it's because it triggers a memory of a bad incident that took place, a year, maybe even further back, friends that have been lost over the years. Now, Jimmy, his biggest issue was, he wasn't afraid of the bombs. He wasn't afraid of the bullets. What he was afraid of most was making a mistake that cost people their lives. Now, prior to World War II, he was one of the leading men in Hollywood, and over the period that he was gone, between boot camp and I believe he was in combat for 15 months, if I remember correctly. But overall, it was a total period of 5 years that he was out of Hollywood. So over that time, the actors, the leading men, they were getting younger. Different guys were taking roles that normally Stewart would have played. So when he came back, he really didn't know what to do. He went back home to be with his parents for a while, and then he realized, I got to go face Hollywood. So he went to Hollywood, and of course, job offers weren't coming in. He didn't really have a place to stay. Luckily, Henry Fonda offered him a room, and of course, he was struggling with PTSD. So when the role for It's a Wonderful Life came along, it was a bonus for Stewart, because it was not only was it his introduction back into Hollywood, but it had a purpose, it had a meaning behind it. Because Stewart, I'm sure, struggled with a lot of the same issues that George Bailey dealt with in the movie. And I've read in some places where some of the scenes in that movie, he actually played so well because he drew from that PTSD, that depression, that sadness, that anger. Especially any of the scenes where he was very vocal and angry. And the very emotional scene when he's holding his youngest child and just starts crying. He was able to draw from, again, depression, PTSD, just the sadness and that was inside of him. When he was staying with Henry, before this role come along, it was suggested, well, let's do a movie about your life and your war experience and show you as a war hero. And Stewart wouldn't hear of it. He wouldn't talk about it. He would not even consider doing it. So this role comes along. He played such an excellent part in this movie that had such meaning. And then we take It's a Wonderful Life and we look at today. We look at what 2020 has been. And we look at the number of people whose depression has gotten worse, the number of people who have depression is on the rise. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of suicides this year as a result of the depression. And, a lot of people found different ways to deal with it, to meet with therapists and that through Zoom and all these other platforms. But it's not the same to be talking to somebody on a computer screen or on the screen of your phone as it is to be sitting right next to them or across from them. And then from the doctor's end of it, it's a whole lot different to look at your patient through a screen than to have them sitting in the same room as you, because there are things you can pick up on in person that you cannot pick up on through a screen or with a telephone call. And I don't feel that people are receiving the amount of care they should be as a result. But tie it into what George Bailey was feeling. Just like the whole world was coming in on him. And then decided that, you know what, I'm worth more dead than I am alive. And anybody who's ever seen the movie, that he contemplates suicide. And I don't want to give away the movie to anybody who hasn't seen it, but in the end, it all comes together. And we have to be able to support each other, to help each other, to get through the pandemic, to get through the mess that 2020 has been for a lot of people. and move forward. We will come back stronger. We will come back better. And one of the biggest ways to do that is, here we are. We're at the week of Christmas. We've got to stop just celebrating Christmas in December. Why can't we celebrate Christmas year round? And what I mean by that is, look at the meaning of Christmas. Whether you look at it from a Christian standpoint, and you look at it as the birth of Christ, and then again, from a Christian standpoint, you look at the hope, the joy, the grace, the loving your neighbor, helping strangers. Or maybe you're looking at it from a universal perspective. So there, you're still looking at being kind, helping others in need. But why do we just reserve that for Christmas time? Why aren't we doing that year round? Spreading love and joy to the world should not be reserved just for Christmas. It's something we should do all the time. It's kind of like when you're a parent. If you only praise your child once in a while when they do something good, but you punish them every time they do something bad, the kid's really not going to see. They're going to know that if you do something bad, there are consequences, but they're going to see that if you do something good, maybe it's not worth it. And unfortunately, that's just from a kid's mentality. Honestly, I'd rather do good things and not be recognized for it. But but you understand what I'm saying. So, all right, guys, if you haven't seen the movie, It's a Wonderful Life, I'm sure it's on many different channels, probably multiple times this week. I'm sure it's available on one of the streaming platforms. I have it on DVD at home. Like I said, it's one of my all-time favorite Christmas movies. So, yeah, we watch it every year. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. Like I said, it's filmed in 1946, black and white movie. I think there might be a colorized version, but I like the black and white one. And always, be the kind of American worth the sacrifice our men and women in uniform make. Because this whole year, I mean, the service has to go to our men and women in uniform that have been working tirelessly, whether it's to defend our cities, to defend our nation, to combat this virus, whatever it is. But they're working hard to do it. So definitely be that kind of American. Be the one that they would be proud of serving and protecting. As always, faith, not fear. And guys, y'all have a very Merry Christmas. And we will be back next week. Hopefully things will calm down just a little bit so we get this out on time. All right, guys. Again, Merry Christmas, and we will talk to you later.